Hello, my name is Luver John F. Palma, and in this video, I will be doing a critique on a certain issue of the National Grid Corporation of the Philippines, also known as NGCP. In this issue, Senator Sherwin Gatchalian urged the Energy Regulatory Commission, also known as ERC, to impose penalties against the National Grid Corporation of the Philippines for its alleged failure in contracting the right amount of power reserves to support its system. This is the questions regarding that issue. First is, does the National Grid Corporation of the Philippines truly secure the energy reserves in the Philippines? What made this energy corporation subject to penalization by a government official? And if it is true, what certain section or chapter do they fail to implement? For the first question, the NGCP did not truly secure the energy reserves in the Philippines since the Department of Energy stated that the NGCP does not meet the required reserve levels under the ancillary services, also known as AS, contracts which are necessary in maintaining the power quality and reliability of the grid. And this is the required capacity stated by the DOE on Luzon's grid. For the regulating reserves, it is 491 megawatts, contingency reserves 647 megawatts, same as dispatchable reserves. While for the estimated capacity of NGCP, the regulating reserves rather is 237 megawatts, contingency reserves is 180, and dispatchable reserves is 145. So this is much lesser than the minimum requirements required by the DOE. For the second question, this energy corporation was subject to penalization by a government official mainly because of frequent power outages or brownouts in Luzon due to failure in securing energy reserves. Stated by DOE that in compliance with the required firm ancillary service contracts or reserves. And last, it is stated by the DOE Secretary Alfonso G. Cusi, pursuing insufficient capacity and choosing non-firm contracts. For the last question, there are certain sections they fail to implement. First is the Philippine Grid Code. Under the Section 7, the grid operating criteria, it is stated by the adequate frequency regulating reserve and contingency reserve shall be available to stabilize the system and facilitate the restoration to the normal state following a multiple outage contingency. In the aforementioned amount of reserves in the first question, the contracted reserve capacity, the regulating, the contingency, and the dispatchable of NGCP does not meet the minimum requirements stated by the DOE. For the second rather, the Department Circular Number DC 2019-12-0018, according to the Energy Department, NGCP did not maintain the required firm ancillary service contracts or reserves, which should account for 4% of the electricity demand and be usable in the event that power plants go offline, under the Section 2. And in the same Department Circular, for Section 4, regulating contingency and dispatchable reserve shall be procured through firm contracts only. Based on the DOE data, the Luzon Grid's regulating contingency and dispatchable reserves from non-firms stand at 525 megawatts, contingency reserves 395 megawatts, dispatchable reserves and in 806 megawatts. This will attract speculative or unreliable AS providers joining the market and jeopardizing the stability and reliability of the electricity grid. A series of red and yellow alerts plagued the Luzon grid due to inadequate firm contracting and disregard for DOE's AS regulations. The DOE stated that the NGCP may have only acquired a portion of the necessary capacity for regulating contingency and dispatchable reserves in the Luzon grid, indicating that the NGCP has not fully contracted the requirement for ancillary services. In order to maintain the stability and reliability of the electricity grid, it is important that the NGCP addresses any difficulties relating to compliance with the DOE's ancillary services guidelines and make sure that enough firm contracts for AS are acquired. The DOE needs to reinforce their rules and regulations to ensure adherence to its standards. And that is all for my video. Thank you for listening.